I want a new drug. Those of you who grew up in the 80s, of course, know the Huey Lewis song. Even those who didn't probably know the song. This video is about a new drug to me. When I say drug, I don't mean it in the sense of a mind-altering substance or I use the word drug without feeling as if it's a bad word. A drug is anything that alters consciousness or body chemistry. People can consider aspirin's a drug, okay? Aspirin doesn't get you high. So let's talk about plants and substances, because if you want to call anything a drug, you really can, to an extent. They all contain chemicals which alter our body chemistry and our states of mind. Those who know me know that I've taken Kratom for about 6 years now, usually on a daily basis, usually about a teaspoon and a half up to 2 teaspoons at a time, twice daily. So maybe 4 teaspoons a day, sometimes a little more or less. And I ordered my Kratom yesterday, and it came with a sample from a vendor, a very trusted vendor that I ordered from, and he sent me a sample of this herb called Mucuna. Now, if you've heard of Mucuna, you probably already know everything about it. I hadn't. And even with all the other research I've done on various plants and substances, this one has evaded my attention. Mucuna is a legume, or a bean from South Africa. The pods, I guess, are very irritating, have these little hairs on them and whatnot. So they have these names, local names for them. But I wrote down all the information I could about this stuff because I wanted to relay this. This legume is ground into a powder, and it's taken just basically like, I took it like Kratom. I took a teaspoon, and then I waited 2 hours, and then I took another teaspoon because I wanted to see what it was really like. He sent me 8.5 grams, so I took a total of 5 grams. I noticed a significant increase in my dopamine levels. Now, I went and researched this, and here's what I found out. Okay, first off, this legume is the only food that contains L-Dopa. L-Dopa is the precursor to dopamine. Dopamine is the feel-good chemical in your brain. There are many plants and substances that have L-Dopa in them. This is the only food source, I guess, known. Don't quote me, I guess, on that, because this is just what I read. But as far as I know, it's the only food source that has L-Dopa in it. So this is 5 to 8% in the average plant. This particular has 25% L-Dopa. So that means when I took 5 grams, I was taking 1.25 grams of pure dopa, L-Dopa. It's not something you want to take lightly or play around with. If you don't understand your body chemistry, or if you don't need or desire to change anything about yourself or the way you feel or your emotions, or you don't need more motivation, some of these things might not work for you. If you're a Kratom fan, you might enjoy this. So it can increase testosterone, libido, and muscle growth because it actually stimulates HGH, or the human growth hormone. So I'm going to read a small list of some of the things that are included in this legume. It's actually called Mucuna Pruriens, which is the name. I'll put it in the description. It has 5-HTP in it. People who take 5-HTP know that it's a precursor to serotonin, which is the other feel-good drug, if you will. I won't get into the details. That's for your own research. It also contains serotonin itself. It contains nicotine, so it's helped people who quit smoking. It contains various tryptamines in it. Salsolinol, which is something I'm not familiar with, and 2 different beta-carbolines. And the interesting thing is it also contains N,N-DMT, 5-MeO-DMT, and bufotenine. Bufotenine is the same compound that's found in toads that you hear about people licking toads. These are all basically different psychedelic compounds. It's an interesting thought because some people have said that you can take it, of course, with harmala seeds or with, an MAOI, and actually obtain some of the psychedelic effects. But that's not what I'm after here. I'm after the dopa, the dopamine effects. It's a stimulant. It gives you focus, confidence, that sense of well-being. And let's see, what else did I write here? Oh, L-Dopa is an adrenaline and endorphin precursor. So when you take the L-Dopa, your body converts it Here we go. This is the last thing I wrote down. The DI, it's a DI, okay? It says if you take L-Dopa, or if you take Mucuna, it's best to take it with a decarboxylase inhibitor, or a DI, because more of it reaches the brain, because more it can cross the blood-brain barrier. And then I read in the same article I was reading, somebody said, well, it just so happens that the two good plants that contain these decarboxylase inhibitors are green tea and Kratom. And that blew me away, because taking Kratom daily, I'm used to it. So therefore, I was already taking Kratom when I took this Mucuna. So the effects could have been massively enhanced by the fact that I took Kratom. But I'll just tell you this. Yesterday I felt wonderful. I felt focused. I felt coherent, functional, very in my zone. And I'm quite often like that, just in daily life with just Kratom or without. But with this Mucuna, it was a completely different feeling. It was a very focused feeling. So I got up this morning and I had a teaspoon left, and I took that before I took my Kratom, just to kind of get a neutral effect of it, from just kind of a tired state to the waking state. And once again, I'm not displeased. I feel like someone described it very similar to Kratom in the sense that it makes you awake, alert, at a level of thinking and confidence and functioning without any type of jittery feeling, no shakiness, and that's what coffee does. Kratom is in the same class as coffee. Mucuna, I don't know. I haven't researched it enough, but I'm going to do more research, and I just wanted to, I guess, put it out there for my plant friends, because I've talked, my friends and I talk about plants and substances and different precursors and combinations and harmalas and what you can mix in MAOIs, and never heard of Mucuna. And it's probably because it's a subtle plant. It's been used for a long time, but it's subtle. And so is Kratom. And I've talked to people who've taken Kratom and said, I get nothing off Kratom. How could you, what do you even get off of it? I say, you're trying to get high. It's not a high, it's a feeling. The body, the feeling of almost an energized type of let's go get 'em kind of attitude. Maybe you want to do some paperwork, go through some stuff, or maybe you want to go do some sports. And these things aren't like things that druggies use. These are things that athletes have been using Mucuna and Kratom. And a lot of these, dopamine and serotoninogenic type plants for sports, for study aids. Mucuna, some people have said, could be a substitution or a replacement for Ritalin. And that to me is promising. I can see that. It's an enhanced focus type thing. So I plan to order a couple kilos of this stuff before it becomes like Kratom. Because when I first started taking Kratom, it was in 2008, I think, or 9. Not a single person in town carried it. No stores. I only knew a few online vendors, maybe 4 or 5 that really sold it. And now there are hundreds. And I'm still buying from the same vendor I bought from 5 years ago online. Luckily I got in with Herb Research, Ethan, who's down in Southern Oregon there, and he's a great vendor, and he always sends me great products, and I asked him for any samples, and that's why he sent me the Mucuna. So it doesn't taste bad. It's very easy to consume. One thing I did read is an interesting article that those who take Mucuna or Kratom might want to know. It's something about how vitamin C can actually it does something to lessen the effects of it, which is interesting because I usually take Kratom with orange juice, and I wondered if it had the same effect on Kratom. But I guess it really doesn't matter, because I'm not, like people say, they say they won't eat for 3 or 4 hours before they take these things so they can get the full effect. And for me, it's not about this high or this full effect. It's just about feeling normal, being functional. Now, some of us out there have lower degrees of dopamine and serotonin. That's just a fact, okay? We can't produce that as much as other people. Some people are very depressed. Some people are overly happy because they're producing too much. And so don't allow people, family, and friends to tell you, oh, you don't need to take a substance to feel good. Oh, you don't need this to be normal. Don't feel guilty over taking plants to make yourself feel normal. Because it makes it hard when you're defining normal as what you think is normal. and you think, well, maybe I'm just getting high, you know, and like, put it this way, I don't consider myself high. I don't get high off of Kratom. I don't take it to get high. I take it to feel functional and to do things that some people have developed their brains to do on a natural basis. And so some of us need a substance to do this. I wouldn't say I need it, but it definitely assists. So anyway, Mucuna is in that class, and I would recommend it to anybody who finds Kratom to be interesting, would probably find Mucuna to be interesting too. I better leave it there, because this video will end up being really long and drawn out like it already has.